Hi, and welcome to this Windows 8.1 tutorial. So today we're going to be going over some of the basic features of Windows 8.1 and how you can use it to make the most of your computer. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. Now, one of the most common things that people ask about with Windows 8 and Windows 8.1 is the new Start interface, also sometimes referred to as the Metro interface. So with this new interface, things are definitely different from previous versions of Windows, like Windows 7, Vista, and XP, and people are not sure how to use it. In this tutorial, we're going to show you how to use all the great features that Windows 8 and 8.1 offer, but if you would prefer to boot to the standard desktop interface, keep in mind that there is a tile here that says desktop, and if I click on this desktop icon, I can always go straight back to the desktop interface I'm familiar with from previous versions of Windows. Now, when you boot your computer up for the first time with Windows 8 and 8.1, it's going to take you to the Start interface that we just saw. If you would prefer to boot into this interface, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to configure that. Okay, so if we want to configure Windows 8.1 so that any time that we boot, we arrive at the desktop as opposed to our Start screen, all we have to do is go ahead and right-click on the taskbar and click on Properties. Okay, so we're going to get a little menu that pops up here. We're going to go ahead and head to the Navigation tab, and if we look under the Start Screen option, we have this here that says when I sign in or close all apps on a screen, go to the desktop instead of Start. So if we check this box here and click on Apply, and then OK, anytime I boot into Windows, it's going to take me here as opposed to our Metro or Start interface. So before I go any further, let's go ahead and reboot the machine and see how that works. Alright, so we're booting into Windows 8.1 here, and we're going to go ahead and show you how Windows 8.1 is now going to boot to our desktop as opposed to booting to the Start screen that we're used to in different versions of Windows 8. So let's go ahead and see. Okay, so here it's signing into our profile. Alright, and just like that, you can see that we've arrived at our desktop. So it went straight to the desktop as opposed to coming to our Start menu here. Now I wanted to show you really quickly here on the desktop interface that one of the new features of Windows 8.1 is this little Start button here. So a lot of consumers have used Windows 8 and they were confused by the fact that there was no Start button in the bottom left-hand corner. So to make things a little bit more comfortable for the users, we have this new Start menu button here that we can click on, which takes us back to our Start interface. Now for anyone who's confused, this is almost identical to the Start bar that existed in Windows 7 and Windows Vista XP. It's very similar to that. It's just a full screen version of that particular feature of Windows. They've made the icons bigger so they're easier to read, obviously much better for touchscreen devices, so it's really just an overall improvement to that feature on Windows. So here on our Start interface, I'm going to show you some of the new features of Windows 8.1. Now you'll notice that as we go, things will be a little bit different from Windows 8, and they're all just improvements made in 8.1 from 8, but they are usually pretty similar to what you would do in Windows 8 as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at one of the most basic features of Windows 8. Now this is again the Start interface, and if I wanted to go ahead and start searching for something, as long as I'm in my Start interface, all I have to do is start searching for something. So if I wanted to type in Word, for instance, I can just start typing, and you can see that over here, it's going to start pulling up a search and looking through my computer for anything that says Word. Now I have WordPad installed on my computer, and so it's going to find WordPad as an application. Down below, we can also see some suggestions that are being given by Windows 8.1. And then these are some settings that were found that have Word in the name as well. Now we can refine our search by clicking this Everywhere button, and we can set it to search specifically just through our settings, files, web images, or web videos, or otherwise if we leave it defaulted to Everywhere, it's going to search the entire computer for anything with the name that I type in there. So that's how you can search for things on Windows 8 and 8.1. If you want to see all the applications that are installed on this machine, as I'm hovering over the screen here, if I look down here, I've got this little white arrow pointing down. Now if I click that, it's going to pop up with all the apps that are installed on my computer. And you can see that there's also a search field here that I can use to search through the apps. Another really cool thing here on Windows 8.1 is if I look in the bottom right hand corner, there's a little minus button, and if we click on the little minus button, it's going to minimize all the icons, and you can see that things are now sorted alphabetically. Now, since I don't have a lot of applications installed, I'm not really going to need to use this, but I could just go ahead and click on a letter to search for all the apps within that letter category. And you can see I also have access to a few things like our Windows system and things like that as well. Now, since all the apps are in one place right now, it's not going to really work because it's going to come to the same screen. But if I had a lot of applications on there, then I could search for applications by the first letter or by categories as well. So one thing that's really important in Windows 8.1 as you're using it just for productivity is using that start button that's on your keyboard. So if you look in the bottom left-hand corner of your keyboard, one key over to the right, that's your start key. And so if I'm in an application, if I opened up Internet Explorer for instance, and I click on that Windows key, it's going to take me back to my start screen. You can see in Windows 8.1 they do give you actually some tips. So here it's telling me if I go up to the top left-hand corner and scroll down, this is going to give me a list of all my open applications. So if I open up an application and then I press the start key to exit out of it, that's perfectly fine. However, it does keep the application running in the background. Now this being said, you don't want to keep a bunch of applications running because it's going to be using extra power and it's going to make your computer run slower if you have a bunch running. So if we do this little gesture that we've just done here by going up to the top left and scrolling down, I can right click on this icon here and click on close, and that closes out of the application. Now if I open this application again, if I actually want to close out of it from this window here, if I go up to the very top, click on the hand here and just drag down, it's going to allow me to close the application. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we call the charms bar. So Microsoft has created this charms bar that allows us to access some basic features on Windows. Now what we do is we take our cursor, go up to the top right hand corner and immediately scroll downwards. And by doing this we have access to our search, which we saw earlier. We can just start typing something and start, or we can click on the search button here to go ahead and start searching for something. We have the share menu. This is going to allow us to connect with things like Facebook and Twitter, our social applications. We also have this start button here, which we can use in any interface. So if I want to click on this button here, this allows me to simulate clicking on the actual Windows key. You probably won't need to use this very often. This is more efficient on touchscreen devices, but it's there if you need it. Also, we have devices. So devices is mostly for peripheral connections, for printers, projectors, things like that. Probably won't need to use that too much, but it is also available. And then probably the second most important thing in the charms menu is the settings. So if I click on settings here, we have access to some really important things. Personalization, so we can personalize our computer. We can change settings for our tiles, access our help menu. We can also quickly adjust our volume, manage our internet connection, adjust the brightness if we like, and we can change our notification settings so we can manage how long or how often notifications will appear on the computer from different applications. Probably the most important thing is the power. So if I click on power, this is how we get to the option to actually restart our computer, shut it down, put it to sleep, etc. We also have access to some keyboard settings and the change PC settings button down here. This is the overall system settings of the computer. So if we click on change PC settings, here we can adjust all kinds of different PC settings. We can activate Windows, we can go into the PC and devices panel here and we can change information for our lock screen, adjust information and resolution settings for our display, manage devices, touchpad controls. So there's a lot of different powerful things that we can do here in the settings here on Windows 8. Okay, so I just showed you how to access the charms menu. It's a simple gesture by going up to the top right hand corner and scrolling down. Personally, I like to use gestures here a lot on Windows 8, and in order to get to that same charms menu, I can actually press a keyboard command to open that panel. So what we do is we press and hold the Windows key and press on the C button. What this does is it brings up my charms menu. And so the same charms menu that I just showed you is accessed by pressing and holding Windows and then pressing on C. Additionally, if I press and hold on Windows and click the I button, that's going to allow me to bring up my settings menu directly. And so if I wanted to quickly shut the machine down, I can do that to get here. And just to show you, the same thing functions on the desktop interface as well. If I press and hold on Windows and click on I, it'll still bring up my settings. So if I wanted to shut my computer down really quickly, I could just do that command and click on Shutdown. Now with Windows 8 and 8.1, customization is really key, and that's one of the benefits here of the tiles that are in Windows. So one of the things you'll notice is that certain tiles are going to be different sizes. There are different sizes based off whatever application you're using, but you can see, for instance, my mail application. This icon is a long rectangle. My Skype application icon, however, is a square. So if I was to right-click on Mail, let's say I don't use Mail very often, what I can do is when I right-click on it, I have the option to resize it. So if I click on the resize button here, you can see that I have actually 4 different options. I can make it medium, I can make it a small icon, or I can make it even larger, like this size here. So let's say I hardly ever use Mail. I can make this a small application icon, and you can see it creates a tiny little icon in the top left-hand corner. Okay, so now let's say I use Skype really often. I can right-click on Skype here, and then I can resize this, and I can make it wider. So if I click on wide, it makes it a long, wide application icon. Now again, like I mentioned, certain applications are going to have different sizes. There are 4 potential sizes. Some of them you can only change it to a couple different sizes. But you get to adjust the size based off how often you use it and what you think looks the best. So the idea here is basically that if you use an application more often, you want it to be more noticeable, while as the icons for the applications you don't use as often, you can kind of make them smaller so that they're out of the way. Okay, another thing that you can do is you can easily reposition these icons. So let's say my mail icon over here, I can drag this around, and I can move this around over here if I wanted to move it to the side. And you can see that I have this separation here between my icons. So I can pretty much have different categories of icons. For instance, I could position everything so that all of my games are here. And then I could have all of my music applications over here. So I can have almost like categories of applications on my start screen interface here. Now let's say I'm going to go ahead and drag these icons around just a little bit so you can see. Let's say I have a bunch of applications that are just spread out between different screens here, and you can see that I can adjust this all the way to the right. We can make it go on as far to the right as we like, and it's going to keep adding applications into your start interface every time you download something. So with Windows 8, I like that you can customize the screen really well, and I also like you have a lot of screen real estate so that if you have a bunch of applications, instead of trying to fill it all on one screen, you have an unlimited amount of space that you can spread all of your applications and all of your icons over. So it's really a much more beautiful experience to use that. Now, if I use my scroll wheel here by scrolling down, that's going to allow me to go to the right, or if I scroll up, that lets me go to the left. So just using the scroll wheel, I can scroll back and forth, or I can also click and just drag this bar at the bottom left and right as well, so that lets me go left and right. Obviously, on a touchscreen device, you can just tap and you can drag to the left or drag to the right. That'll also allow you to go back and forth on Windows 8. Okay, so now I wanted to go ahead and show you a way that you can actually pin your desktop shortcuts to your start interface here. So let's go ahead and head back to our desktop. Alright, so here let's say we had Internet Explorer on our desktop and we had deleted it previously, or we don't have it on our start interface and we want it there. So what I can do is take any of my shortcuts that I have on my desktop here, and I can right click, and you're going to get some different options here. I can click on Pin It to Start. So if I click on Pin It to Start, that's going to put an icon on my start screen, and then I can also right click, and I can also pin it to my taskbar as well. And you can see I have Unpin from Taskbar here because it's already pinned. But if I click on the Pin to Taskbar button when it's available, it'll appear somewhere on my taskbar here. So on my start interface here, by pinning it to start, you can see that it'll actually put an icon on your start screen here for that particular application. And again, if you have a bunch of applications here, you can always click on the minus button in the bottom right hand corner to zoom out of all the icons that are there, and so you can actually just grab an entire group of tiles here. So let's say these were all of your games and you wanted to move them over a little bit. I can just drag and drop that entire group of icons over into any location I like. Now to get out of this, all I have to do is simply left click over here. Now one thing that you actually saw before but I didn't really talk about were speed bumps, and I'm going to show you that real quick here. If I drag this icon over just to the right, you'll notice that a little bar appears here, and this little translucent bar, if I drag it past this, this is called a speed bump, and that's what's going to create the spaces between these icons, so you can actually separate the different groups, and like I showed you before, you can have pretty much different categories of tiles and adjust that how you like. Just a couple more shortcuts I wanted to show you. If you press and hold Windows and press on D, that's going to take you to your desktop. So in any application that you're running or wherever you're at, you can always press and hold the Windows key and press on D to go straight to your desktop. Also, if we're in our desktop interface, we press and hold Windows and press on the period button, we'll actually be able to pin applications on the side of the screen. So we can do that with that simple gesture there. If we press and hold the Windows key and press on X, that's going to allow me to open the Power User menu. Now the Power User menu can be accessed this way, or we can also right-click on this Start button here that we have in our desktop interface. And here we have access to some basic settings and controls, like our device manager, computer management. So actually there's a lot of important things that we can access just from this simple interface here. Okay, now I already showed you how to open up your open and running applications by going up to the top left-hand corner and scrolling down. But if I wanted to access an application really quickly, if I press and hold on Windows and then tap Tab, what I can do is I can scroll through my running applications here, and you can see by pressing Tab, I can highlight which one I want to go to, and then when I release, it takes me to that application. Alright, now let's say I'm browsing through an application here, and I find something that's really interesting, something that catches my eye, and I'd like to take a quick screenshot of that particular image. Okay, so here's an interesting news story, and let's say we wanted to go ahead and screenshot this. If I press and hold Windows and then I click on Print Screen, that's going to take a screenshot of my screen here, and what it's going to do is it's going to actually save that into your My Pictures folder. Now if I go back to my desktop interface and I click on this little folder icon, it's actually called our File Explorer. This is going to allow us to browse through what we're probably used to calling My Computer, and so I can access everything here. If I click on this PC, this is pretty much my computer. I can access my downloads, my documents, all that kind of stuff. So under my PC, I can go ahead and go to my Pictures folder here, and you can see there's a Screenshots folder here that I can open, and here's the screenshot that I just saved. Okay, so finally we're going to show you one last thing that you can do here on Windows 8.1, and that is how you can create a picture password. Now to do this, what we have to do is we simply go up into our Charms menu, so I'm going to press and hold Windows and click on C, and then I'm going to click on Settings, and we're going to go to More PC Settings down here. And then we're going to scroll down to Change PC Settings down here. Okay, so in our PC settings, what we're going to do is go ahead and go to our Accounts button here, and we're going to click on Sign In Options. Okay, so if you look here, we see that we have the Picture Password option. Now you'll notice that the Add button is actually grayed out right now, and the reason for this is that we don't have a password currently set on this computer. So in Windows 8, you can either set a generic password or a picture password. Before you can set that picture password, we're going to have to go ahead and add in a password here. So I'll click on Add, and I'll type in a new password. And once we've typed in our new password and put in a password hint, we click on Next and Finish. And now you'll notice that I have the option to do the picture password. So let's go ahead and click on Add to add this feature to our account. Okay, so first I have to verify my account, so I have to go ahead and type in my generic password and click on OK. Now we get to choose the picture that we would like to use. So let's click on Choose Picture. And I don't have any pictures on here right now, so we'll just use the screenshot that I just took. So we'll go ahead and select this and click on Open. Okay, so basically what we do with our picture password is we just draw 3 different gestures that we'll remember on the picture. So let's say I just go ahead and take my mouse here and I just go ahead and drag over the top of the screen. There's a swipe to the right gesture. Now let's say I wanted to underline the text, so I could do a swipe to the right under the text there. Maybe I wanted to swipe down on this guy here. So all I have to do is now confirm my gesture. So I go up here and I just swipe at the top. And now I just swipe down here to the right. And swipe down here. Alright, so now it's confirmed. So all you have to do is do 3 gestures and confirm them and click on Finish. Now that our picture password is set, I can go ahead and log into my account using my picture password. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and reboot the machine and show you how that works. Now before we do this, I did want to show you one more thing. You can add some more security onto your account by adding a PIN code onto your account. So if I click on Add, what I can do is verify my account information by typing in a password. And then I can also create a PIN. Now, a PIN is a 4-digit code, and this is just a quicker way to, if I type in that 4-digit code, it'll allow me to access information. So this is sort of an alternative to the generic password. It'll just allow you to sign into things a little bit more quickly than having to type in a full generic password that's usually around 8 characters. So we'll leave the PIN code off for now, and we're just going to go ahead and reboot and show you the picture password. Okay, so I just went ahead and rebooted my machine, and since I have a password set, it's going to come up to our introduction screen here if I just left click. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just perform those 3 gestures here. So if I just go ahead and go to the right here at the top, and then we just go ahead and scroll to the right under this text here, and we just swipe down like this, and that's going to allow me to sign into my account. Okay, so that's it. That's all there is to it. That's how you can sign in using your picture password. Alright, so that's it for this video tutorial. These are just a few of the many great features here in Windows 8.1. Hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thanks for watching this video tutorial for Windows 8.1, and have a great day.